What's up? Do you have enough time to get all the things done that you plan on getting done? Do you always find that, maybe you have free time at the end of the day because you finished everything? Is there always something else? Well, today you're in luck. We're going to talk about how there is always something else. This is the Existential Stoic podcast. I'm Danny here with Randy. What's up, Randy?
Yo, Danny.
Yeah, so we were just talking about this actually right before we recorded, and like that's why we came up with the idea, but like it does feel like that, right? Like it's like you never, I mean, and maybe it is life, but it's like you're never finished, you know?
Hmm.
There's And it seems like no matter what you do, everything you take on is adding all these new tasks, maybe goals, things you want to accomplish. And we all want to do these things fast. And it's like, so your day just can fill up so quickly with like just stuff. And it's like hard to navigate and manage and stay. Because I was just saying to you, like, I was having trouble focusing. And it's like, part of it is I think there is just so much going on. And trying to get all that stuff, which I'm happy about, but trying to get all that done, but also then do all the other things that I want to do and enjoy my life too, like outside of like working. It's hard to find that balance and like navigate it correctly.
I agree. It's a challenge because on the one hand, you have all this stuff that you want to do, but then all these things that you need to do, it's not just simple. They all like split off into a million other things, and then you have all this stuff on your plate, and it's overwhelming. And then you're just like, I can't do all this. It's too much. So then you're like, okay, I got to prioritize. I'm just going to focus on this stuff. But then it's boring only to focus on one thing or two things.
Yeah.
And so you start doing other things, and it's just like, oh, yeah.
Well, that's the pain in the ass of it, right? It's not like, it's like if I want a drink, I can go get a drink, solved, right? But like most goals aren't like that. It's not like you're not getting a drink and that's it. That's your goal. It's like they usually involve like a process of learning, of like many tasks to get to the final thing or whatever, and these projects. And it's like it's time consuming. And the more you add on, the more, your brain's in many different places too. Because I noticed that as well. Like I feel like I solve so many problems when I'm not focused on things, like in the background. But the more you add into it, it's like the more scattered your brain starts to get running in the background, trying to process all these different, problems, these background processes. Use very computer lingo there, right? And like, I think it gets like almost crowded and hard to concentrate. And then you have a hard time starting things because it's like, well, you have so much going on, and it's like hard to kind of pick what am I going to focus on now?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's challenging too because there's so many, with internet, with social media, you're no longer competing with just your town. It's like literally you're competing with everyone on the face of the planet. And like I've been listening to
And
this
it's too
book
many
on
god darn people.
yeah, I've been listening to this book on some like computer people who are like who've done amazing things with computers. And a very large proportion of them have some type of like ADHD where sure they can't pay attention to a whole bunch of stuff, but they can go like 18 to 20 hours in front of a computer working on one problem and it's not a big deal. And it's just like most people can't function on this level. Like we compare ourselves with like Elon Musk and all these and Steve Jobs, but like they clearly had issues going on to where like yes they were able to produce insane results but that's because they're not the typical person like even
Well,
Warren
it's because
Buffett the
they're willing
guy
to
who
sacrifice everything else, right? I mean, that's the other thing. Like they're sacrificing everything else in their life
but it's
and
not even it's
working.
not even like it's a choice for them. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that's how they are in general and like oftentimes it's because there's some type of spectrum thing going on and
yeah,
yeah.
which makes sense. I mean, it's funny. You look back, I mean, like a lot of the greats composers and stuff back in the day, they probably had something like that going on too, because, and it's fine, that's going to happen. I think that's where you get these sort of breakout individuals who can really make wild changes because they just concentrate and focus on one thing really well. But it's for most of us, it's not possible, and we have a lot going on that we have a lot of values in our life that we don't want to let fall away. Like you have family, you have friends, you have other hobbies, maybe you have experiences you want to have, things like that, and trying to fit all that in, and especially too nowadays, I feel like it's, and I'm sure this was always the case, but it's like you want things to happen so fast, and things take time, and it's just hard to stay with it when they take time, right? Because and not give up and persevere through that is very difficult sometimes. I think to get to the end, and even when you get to the end, it's like then you're just starting. It's like
Yeah.
I sometimes think about that, like it's like because you imagine your head like like your good life or your goals, and like I think most of us think there's a point where we stop and like we have it, but the reality is it just keeps going. And like I think about that sometimes, like it makes me tired almost, like thinking about all the crap that you're gonna have to do from now until whenever the hell you die, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
It's like so much stuff.
True. True. That's why you remember that thing that I was talking about, that analogy from the book, where it's like if every time you sat down to eat, you thought about all the things that you have to eat
Yeah.
in your entire life, like all the birthday cakes and all the barbecues and all the breakfasts, you would just be like completely overwhelmed and just be like, forget it. This is a drop in the bucket. It's never going to
It'd
even
be a
make a
mountain of
difference.
food, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you think about like your entire like
Oh my God.
dietary needs
That's
stretched out
just,
over 100 years, oh
yeah.
God, yeah.
That would be the worst
It'd be
thing
ridiculous.
ever. And you just have to
Yeah.
like eat what it, like no longer would I be like, man, I'm starving. I would be like, just give me as
Oh
much as I
God, please
can. I
no
gotta
more.
get through this thing.
But that's the funny part. It's like I think that is a good analogy though, because it's like we don't rush with food because we have a natural mechanism that tells us when we're full and stuff, which is helpful.
Which is
But I
kind of
think that's
faulty for
what's
most people.
well, yeah, but whatever. But like, that said, I mean, there is a limit, right?
Yeah,
There is a natural limit to how much you can eat at a certain point.
yeah.
But I think with other stuff, because we don't have that limit, and because when we look outside of ourselves at maybe like, people that we admire or whatever, or other people that are doing this thing that we want to do, they're already far beyond us. And there's no clear way how to make that sort of assessment to say when is enough, say each
Mm.
day or each time I sit down, that'll get me there. And we all want it to be now. So it's like the tendency is to put more in, I think, than less. And that makes it hard too.
Yeah. I noticed recently that I have a really hard time having things undone that I need to do. Like, I'll give an example. So, like, let's say in a certain day, there's a few things that I have to do. And
Like a to-do
I,
list.
yeah, like a to-do
Yeah.
list. And I can spread them throughout the entire day. But like I have a very hard time relaxing and just being able to enjoy my day until I get all of them done. So I can't like do one or two and then save the others for later in the day. Even though I'm exhausted and I just want to take a nap, I'm like I can't sleep until I finish doing all this stuff. And that causes a lot of issues.
You know what helped? Actually, no, because I know exactly what you're talking about because I have a similar problem. But I got a weekly planner, so it has like it'll have the days on one side and then it has a blank page on the other for
Hmm.
each week. And
Hmm.
what I've been doing now is I'll put like for each day I'll put like main things that I need to get done, and then on the side page I'll put like things for the week.
Hmm.
And I found that's been a little helpful because it lets me like separate out like the simple today daily tasks and then like the larger tasks, I guess, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. It's
that's
been
a
a
good
little
one.
helpful, but obviously it's not a solution because I still struggle.
Yeah, it's a bitch because like, okay, so here's the thing: we're all gonna die. Like,
Yeah,
there's gonna be everything, and
absolutely.
here's the kicker. So we're all gonna die, and all this really important stuff that we thought was so super important for us to get done, it's gonna
Doesn't
be
matter.
undone, and nobody's gonna care.
Yep. Dude, you know what's funny about that? Think about like when Steve Jobs died, right? That book was written about him, and then has anybody heard about him, talked about him? Nope, not at all.
Yeah, the world
It's
moves
gone.
on.
Yeah, it does
Yeah.
very quick, and that's the crazy part. But like when we're living it, it seems so important. And I think to an extent it is, right? Because like it's your life and you're trying to improve your life. You want to get these things done. You want to like, and you want to see, I think that's the hard part too. Like when you're trying to do things that like are for the betterment of your life, you want to see the results, right? To kind of prove to yourself that it's right or that you're doing the right thing. I think that's also part of it, maybe is like that validation that this thing that I'm doing is validated because here's the results that I'm getting back that are clearly improving my situation, my life, whatever.
Mm.
And that's gonna like, somehow confirm my choices were right and my activities were right or actions were right.
Mhm. It kind of comes back to
Maybe.
that whole thing about being contented.
I know it's a bitch, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's really hard to be though.
yeah.
And there is always like it's like everything you do, there's always so many other things. And then you factor in all the obligations and pressures from out, it's like it's just too much. But it's funny too, because like I noticed too, like I'll on the days, rare times that I do take a day off or something, like I notice I seem to be I'm much more excited to get back into it the next day. Like getting a break is good, but yet at the same time, it's really hard to take that break too. And that's the
Hmm.
funny thing. Like I know the value's there, but it's so hard to do it because I feel like if I do, I'm falling behind from what I don't know what the hell I'm measuring myself against. But like half the time I don't even know. But I feel like I'm falling behind, and
But
that's worse.
dude, I'm right there with you. And a lot of it, I think, possibly is this grind culture where it's like no days off. If you take a day off, you're just like going to be so far behind everybody else who's
You're a loser
going.
trying to be happy with
I
mental
know,
health and
right?
whatnot.
Yeah, right. But it is like yeah, I was physically exhausted this week, and I like did not want to take a day off of working out because I was like, the plan is to do it all the freaking time. I can't take, and I'm like, maybe I just need to take a day off and rest because I'm just exhausted. And
I
yeah,
think that's part of it, right? It's that mentality, like the grind mentality, but also I think too, just like that fear that you'll lose momentum,
hmm,
that like one day off will immediately amount to all days off, or
yeah,
like, losing your steam and your progress. And I think that is scary. And I think the other problem too is it's so easy to make false comparisons to other people. Like so easy. And I mean, I catch myself doing it all the time too, where like I'll be upset with myself and I'll be like, well, they're so far ahead, or that person's doing this. And it's like, but yeah, of course they are, because we've done totally different things. It's like we've had
and that's
different,
just one aspect of their life.
yeah, exactly, right? And you're not looking at the whole life of the person and everything else involved, nor are you considering all the things you've done either that might have been different from what they've done that they didn't do. I think it's easy to get caught in that trap, and that also doesn't help either. It's like this cycle of, that makes you then want to do more, and that, I don't know. It's very
Mm,
difficult.
yeah. So how do we decide on what's important and what to actually and if to even care?
Should we care at anything? I don't know. Maybe we should. It's so hard.
Yeah.
That's I think thing too. Maybe it's like also because there's this things move so fast now. And like, that grow or die mentality, like everything has to be moving forward and up and expanding and growing and more and more. And it's like really hard to maintain that, especially as an individual. So maybe it's like stepping back too and just, I don't know, gratitude I think would be helpful. Forcing breaks would be helpful maybe. Because we've done that. That has helped. Like scheduling time for breaks and like hobbies and other things can be helpful because like then it's part of my schedule. And
Hmm.
I notice I'm more likely to do it if I schedule it in. And instead of it being one off, because like I don't if this will make maybe this won't make maybe it'll sound crazy, I don't know. But like imagine it's like today's like Labor Day, right? So like I'll give you a very clear example. Yesterday I had planned to do stuff today, but then like I forgot it was a holiday because I don't pay attention to the holidays at all. I rarely ever do. And but everybody's off, so they were like, "Oh, let's go to this place." And in the back of my head, I was like, part of me was like, "Oh, but I was gonna do all that stuff today." And then the other part of me was like, "But you know what? Who cares? Like, I should go do that because this is also important." But I catch myself doing that a lot.
Hmm.
And it's like because so scheduling does help me sometimes because I know it's coming rather than it being like spontaneous, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Life is a confusing thing.
It is. It's really hard
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
If only there was like a book
I
or
know, a
like a
manual,
guide.
like a holy book that just
What,
had a whole bunch of
yeah. Well,
parables.
here's the worst part, right? It's like, every generation, right? You're taught by your community, your family. They don't know what the hell's going on. They don't know what to do. So it's just like we keep trying to correct, but like nobody knows. So it's just this big mess.
Hmm. Yeah, and also by the time you actually kind of figure things out, you die and you really can't pass anything on anyways. Like I was thinking
I know.
about that the other day, like all the time and effort we've spent learning stuff. And like I was thinking, I was like, I'm gonna get old and I'm probably gonna be really good at this, but all the time and effort and energy that I spent learning this stuff, it's all gonna go to nothing because there's no way I'll be able to pass it all on, everything that I've
Yeah,
learned. So yeah,
isn't that crazy?
yeah.
I mean, it's just part of life, though. But it's weird. It's like I think that by doing things and contributing to things, you're still pushing things forward, even in a small way. So I don't know, I think part of it still lives on in a sense, in that, like those fields, those areas that you're part of still keep going, right? And I think that's the way we kind of contribute to human society, broadly speaking, like each of us, right? Because, we put some effort in, we do some things, we contribute to something, that area moves on and keeps going even when we die. And so, whatever. Maybe that's a good way to
Hmm.
look at it.
Yeah,
Or nothing matters, and, we just are trying to make it matter.
there it is.
Yeah, hard.
Yeah.
Well, there's always something else, right? And there always will be. So there you
Hmm.
have it. If you enjoyed this episode, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I don't know. Check us out on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. Please like, share, subscribe. It helps us out a lot. Even leave a review. We'll be back later this week with another episode. Until then, though, later, Randy.
Later, Danny.